Hello, and welcome to Phoenix Cinema Podcast Film Club, where a community of film nerds just like myself gather to rate and review films of our choosing. Why? Because we love movies and we love talking about them with each other most of all. Joining me today is the manager of Phoenix Cinema, Zalan. Welcome back, Zalan.
Welcome. It's a pleasure as always. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you as always, Zalan. And also joining us is my co-host, Luke Parker. Luke, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to this one today.
As am I. And of course, it can't be a film club without our Hannah, who also chose today's movie. Hannah, welcome back.
Glad to be back. Good to see you guys.
So good to see you. And of course, as I just said, you're the one that chose today's movie. And that movie is American History X.
Tony Kaye's 1998 drama drops us into the stark, fractured world of Venice, California, seen through the eyes of Danny Vineyard, a teenager teetering on the edge of radicalization. The film isn't just a story about hate, it's a non-linear descent into a family's collapse. We follow Danny's older brother Derek, played with a terrifying, muscular intensity by Edward Norton, a man who transformed from a bright student into a charismatic neo-Nazi leader after the murder of their father. Derek's world is a blur of hyper-violent tribalism and cold rhetoric, culminating in a brutal act of street justice that lands him in prison. As Derek serves his time, we see his ideology begin to shatter under the weight of prison politics and an unlikely alliance, forcing him into a grueling personal transformation. But the real crisis begins upon his release. Derek returns home a changed man, only to find that the poison he spent years spreading has taken root in his younger brother. As he desperately tries to pull Danny back from the brink, Derek is forced to confront the inescapable shadows of his past and the crushing reality that some sins, once committed, create a cycle of violence that no amount of personal redemption can easily stop. So, American History X, pretty tough watch, don't you think?
Yeah, indeed. Really tough watch. Really powerful. Well said, by the way, Luke. That was a lovely
I can't
intro.
take credit for that. That's one from the internet, but
That's okay. No. That's absolutely fine. It's you read it very well.
it seemed like a perfect summary. So I thought, yeah,
It really was. Yeah, it's nice to help gather your thoughts about the film a bit before we dive into it. Hannah, you chose the film. What's your relationship with this movie? I can't remember. Had you seen it before?
Oh, sure. No, I had not seen it before. Its name has floated around in my life a little bit. I think around the time I was in middle school. Our library is just across the street from our middle school in my hometown, and DVDs are readily available there. Sometimes I think they weren't checking the rating for it when I was at least renting things out. But no, I had not seen it. I'd heard certain things, certain, I guess, iconic elements of the film and knew roughly what it was about. But it's kind of just lingered. And after Bad Lieutenant, and given where we are in world politics, specifically American politics where I live, I thought this might be a great time to dive into it and see what, the writer and the group was trying to say back in 98.
Yeah, and I guess it's not surprising, or it's quite depressing that the movie's released in 1998 and you're watching it and going, ooh, how relevant does this feel in terms of the rhetoric that, exactly like you just said as well, that word, Luke, that you used there. Oh my God, look who's joining us.
amazing.
Look who's joining us.
So joyful.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Ralph. Everybody. It's because we are already recording, but
Oh, I
late
know.
to the party.
Way
But
late.
so happy to have you is Ralph Apel. Welcome back, sir.
Okay. I'm just popping in. Okay, because I've been gone for a while. And the last show you did, I completely I couldn't do it. And then the show before that, I the aliens, which I really wanted to do, completely forgot. Today, I mean, I just got the notification update like yesterday, I think. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Perfect. I have the whole day off. American History X is streaming on Netflix. I'll get up in the morning and I'll watch it, and I'll join you guys at noon. None of that
What
happened.
happened?
I completely forgot. So after, like, literally, like right after you sent me the reminder, and I'm so sorry to derail the show. I got hired for a part-time job with the city parks department, and everything like got washed away from my brain. I've been literally like looking for work ever since my movie came out, the documentary, like over a year ago.
Yeah.
I've been editing. I'd had a photo shoot with like 8 people a couple weeks ago. I've been editing photos. It's been the last like 24 hours has been absolutely nuts, and completely like I'm doing laundry. I spend the morning doing laundry. I walk into the room, and for some reason I'm like, oh, it's lunchtime. Oh no. I'm just in to say hi.
Congrats on the job.
Absolutely.
So bad, because I swear, Chris, I told you, like, I keep flaking on episodes, and there was one I think where it was like, oh, if you come on, you're could be the next pick.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make it. I think it was Goodfellas. I felt so awful that I completely just like got sidetracked, and I'm like, I have to pop in and just say hi. And I'll just say this. I saw American History X probably when did it come out? Like 20 years ago?
98. Yeah.
98,
So I probably saw it about 20 years ago. It was definitely like on home video. And I don't remember much about the movie, except I didn't like Ethan Suplee being a bad guy.
Remind me, who's Ethan Suplee?
I believe he plays Edward Norton's brother. He's a bigger guy. He was in Mallrats.
Oh, yes.
He's like a Kevin Smith.
Yes.
So I didn't like that, because at the time I was a huge Kevin Smith fan. But then also, I don't know if you've brought this up yet or not, but again, I watched this 20 years ago. The image of the curb stomping,
oh my god,
is still ingrained in my brain.
Yeah.
That when you guys said American History X, that's all I thought about, was like,
yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway, I'm so sorry I'm late. I didn't mean to derail anything. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm probably gonna pop back up because I feel like I'm ill prepared for this, but I want to let everybody know that I'm still alive. Please don't stop sending me invites. I swear one of these times it's going to come when I'm like absolutely doing like nothing.
We were just saying this, Ralph. You're welcome back anytime, obviously.
Okay. Good.
Any time, honestly. Yeah, I make you a promise. You will continue to get those invites.
Okay, good.
And even if you just want to pop in and say hi, always a pleasure, sir. And like Zalan just said, congratulations on the job.
I mean,
well done.
It's just the part. It's like a regular, like normal, like blue collar part-time job, which is good because it'll still allow me to do my photography.
Yes.
It'll allow me to do my podcasts and stuff. So it worked out pretty good, but I literally like accepted your thing, and the next email that popped up was that. And it's like the whole day has just been like, yeah, it's been a lot. But
well, the fact that you've spared the few minutes that you have to even come on and talk to us is
I feel
much
so
appreciated.
Like I like quickly like brush my beard. I'm like sweaty. It's like probably like 80 degrees out there.
Oh,
it's
I
so
envy you.
hot. Look at this.
I envy you. It's pitch dark where we were in the UK right now, and cold.
Yeah, it's noon.
So cold.
It's noon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a sweaty mess. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing well, and I just popped in to say hi. And please letting me know, especially if you get back to Bond, because
I literally just said to Luke, I went, as soon as we do the Living Daylights, I said, I have a feeling Ralph will be back.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I'm gonna have to like make sure you have like my phone number if you guys use Apple products or something, like you can do the iMessage. Send me a text message and let me know, because it's in my calendar. I put it in my calendar.
Life finds a way, as Jeff Goldblum says. Yeah.
But yeah, go talk about American History X. It's I feel like it's more relevant today than ever, and it's a little tough being
Yeah.
on this side of the pond,
Mm.
dealing with this stuff. Like every day, it's like something nuts,
Mm.
and I hate Nazis. I just want to
Yeah.
go on record. So, Nazi.
Yeah.
But I like Edward Norton. But again, the first time I saw him was in Rounders, and he was so good in that. And then I don't like seeing people I like playing bad guys.
Be awful.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, all right, I'll let you guys go. It was good seeing everybody, and I swear next time I will do everything in my power to try to just keep it in my brain to be here.
Such a pleasure, my friend. Anytime. You're
All right,
welcome
guys.
anytime.
Cool. See you later,
Thank
Ralph.
you. See you
Take
guys.
care.
All right, bye.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
There's the Ralph interlude, ladies and
Yes,
gentlemen.
yes, fantastic. What a nice surprise. So yeah, where were we? You were saying, was it you, Hannah? Were you saying, or were you done by then?
I was done. I was definitely wrapped, I promise.
Maybe I was commenting on something you had said, but I've forgotten what it was now. But that's okay. So let's move on to Zalan. I think last time you said you had seen the film, right? It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was interesting because I remember watching it, and I like most people, I found it a hard watch, and at the time I was a bit confused of the messaging in general, but
Mm-hmm.
watching it this time around, everything was like much clearer, and like once you learn about the production and why certain decisions are being made, I could appreciate the film a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I like agree what we've been said, that it's sadly it's very relevant, and I think it's a very important film, and it's great that we get to discuss it, because there's a lot to unpack in this one. But yeah, it was a much digestible view this time around, than I had just more knowledge about the film, and just the way it's been edited, and the structure as well. And I really I probably am on the side that like it's a good film, but I have some issues with it,
Okay.
in terms of, like, I find it a little bit imbalanced, the movie, but that is, I kind of give it a pass given the circumstances of like the troubled film shooting, and how the actual version that we got is not obviously what the director intended to make.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's
Oh.
if I can just like, if you know about it, like, this was
Please.
he went so crazy about this, like, film that the studio wanted to edit it, that he wanted to denounce his name. He
Mm.
actually went, when I say insane, like, he went to a newspaper, I think, and had a 20-page, like, hired out a 20-page, like, saying that it's not his film, and you're blasting the studio and distributor. He said he wanted his name to be Numpty Dumpty, like, when
Oh
it comes
my
up.
word.
But the DGA, like the like American Directors Guild, have this, like, like, so there's some, like, once you qualify to be a director, you can't just take your name away from it if you have already published negative things about it. So he doesn't consider this his film. Like, basically Edward Norton edited most of the movie.
What?
And the funny thing about it is that it's usually, when you hear about director's cut, that you're thinking, like, okay, this probably the director wanted a story, and the studio took scenes out. But in this one, it's the other way around. So his original version, I think, is around 90 minutes. So there's more scenes added to it, and it's mainly about Edward Norton's character. So he felt that Edward Norton was taking over the film, and pushing, sort of his storyline in it. But it's an interesting topic, because probably there's things that we discuss and come up it could be because of, like the way the film structured, that we might find issues that it's
Wow.
the choice of, how, what we, like to portray in a way. So there's a lot of, layers to this film, and once you hear about it, and then I could appreciate maybe the structure issues, or like things about it with the storyline that to me comes across a bit uneven. But given the circumstances, I kind of like, I understand why that is, and it's still has so many incredible moments and character development and stuff to discuss, that I'll still rate it, quite highly.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I had no idea about that troubled uh, behind the scenes shoot. Yeah. And the filmmaker wanting to renounce himself from it. Wow. Ah, that's fascinating. Okay. All right. Yeah, cool. Let's get into that as well. Luke, what did you think? Had you seen it before?
Yeah, so I saw this quite a while ago. In fact, I think I first saw it when I was maybe like 15 or 16, when I was first really getting into film. And
I
I
think
think
like me, yeah.
that's quite like a pertinent age to watch this film, as like maybe quite a young, impressionable, naive young lad. And I think it's a really important film to watch. I mean, in general, I love this film. For me, this is really, really, really great. It's very much a film on radicalization and, the influence of your surroundings. And like Zalan just said, the character development in the film is it's fantastic. And I'm very surprised, because I also did read about those kind of things that were going on behind the scenes, and in the editing room, all kind of the beef that was happening and all the drama that was happening. And I was really surprised when I first read about this, because I'm a really big fan of this final cut and how it came out in the end. I think the reason Edward Norton kind of had this more influence on what the final edit looked like was, well, at least from what I read, it's saying that he wanted to increase his own screen time and like make his character more sympathetic, which is kind of interesting. But for me, the final cut is pretty perfect as is, and I'm sure we'll get into more details as to why later on. But yeah, I really, really love this film. I think it's, and again, as you've already said, it's only going to increase in relevance indefinitely, I feel.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Luke and Zalan as well. I'd already seen it a long time ago, and I'll be honest, it outside of that scene that Ralph just mentioned, the curb stomp, it didn't really make an impression on me. I remember thinking it kind of washed over me. I didn't think too much of it. Didn't really enjoy it. I just remember the curb stomp and that vivid sound design of the teeth grating on the sidewalk, and that was it, because it's so violently visceral. And then watching it again now, like you were saying, Zaylin, I have more of an informed film mind. I'm older. Maybe there's more that I can appreciate about all aspects of a movie now compared to when I was, 15, 16 years old. And yeah, I could appreciate a lot more about it. I could actually view it as an entire thing. And I was like, you know what? This is pretty good. This is really good. I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly so. I thought we were in for a bit of a rough one. And no, I think it's actually quite sound, which is why I'm really surprised at the beef behind the scenes, and not being happy with what cut it was, and people taking more ownership over this and that like you were saying, Luke, it doesn't display trouble to me on screen. It plays out pretty well. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Really powerful movie, I thought. And yeah, sadly relevant today, but maybe that makes it all the more vital, right, and pertinent, is because it feels so relevant.
And also,
It doesn't feel dated.
it feels very real, and in a way, I say that it is how scary accurate that is, and that's why I think some people, I understand why they might have trouble with this movie because, but this is, I think, this is one of his strengths because if you don't get into the details of it, like a troubled situation, then you might not be able to portray the reasoning and because that's what you want to get. Like you want to like the writer based on this, like it's some of it true story because he was part of a skinhead gang and he just wanted to as sort of a
Shit.
writing it wanted to have use it as a therapy, like understanding what drives these young people towards hatred and this kind of philosophy. And so those scenes and then it's very detailed in a way which probably for some people would say, oh, that is quite convincing, those
Mm-hmm.
ideas, until kind of like the film flips to, like that was when I said about balancing. When the first time you watch it, you don't quite know where the film is going,
Yeah.
what all you try to tell me because you showed me all these groups and they sound quite convincing with their idea
Mm.
and I don't see the counterpoints to
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the first part of the movie. But then everything flips in a way and it becomes more. It sort of like comes together to you, as a viewer as well. So yeah, I appreciated how they didn't just say like, okay, well, maybe it's too much, or it's like, yeah, but if they act in that manner, if they their actions are quite that despicable, then we have to show it on screen because that's reality. You can't shy away from it because
Yeah.
otherwise you just creating cartoon villains and it's maybe the message wouldn't be as strong because you don't have these visceral feelings while you're watching it.
Yeah.
I'm
Go
I'm
for it,
just
Luke.
curious, Alan, because before you mentioned that you thought there were like some imbalances in the film. Is that more like structure imbalances in terms of the filmmaking, or are you thinking of more imbalances in terms of like the messaging that it's trying to
It's a
portray?
message. So it's for me, and it's kind of like a parallel story in a way. Which I actually, when I put it together, I kind of like it. So that's why I am with you, Luke. That in a way that it's, despite all of these flaws, it actually comes out quite good. But there's this the imbalance I see it is that, is it Derek's redemption story, or is it the brother's story, the way he views this group and his relationship to the brother. And the kind of it goes two ways around, so it feels like it's Derek's story and then he switches to the brother. And that's where sometimes I had issues with, okay, is what is the real messaging? Is it which point of view is saying? And then maybe the right answer is doesn't have to be either or, but when you're watching it, it's sometimes like Derek's actions only make sense in the first act of the movie once you see the prisons flashbacks. And maybe that when it comes to structure is sometimes as you go through the film you might question the first part of the movie, but once you've seen it and now watching it again, it all makes sense. So that's why it's quite interesting that, yeah, I agree that the cut, and especially if we can talk about it afterwards, that what was the original ending, I think it's very important that the way the film ended and the way, I probably, if I watch the original cut, which probably never gonna be released, and Edward Norton's version of it, I'm pretty sure that probably 99 out of 100
Mm.
people would pick this version.
Yeah, I don't want to jump the gun here because maybe we want to talk about this later, but the change to the ending that you're talking about is originally the plan was for there to be a scene where Edward Norton's character he like goes back into a bathroom and like the final shot is of him shaving his head again after his brother's been killed.
Oh wow.
I guess like it's supposed to like show the cycle of violence, which is very like true and very real, but I feel like if that had been the case, the whole everything else and all the rest of the message of the film would kind of have been muddied and lost. And I really like the way that they did decide to end the film. And the reason I asked you that question, Zalan, about the imbalance is because when I was reading kind of some reviews about the film and about people's responses to the film, a lot of people were saying the same thing, that it felt really imbalanced, and they, especially people, people weren't happy with the way it portrayed like black culture and the actions towards black people in the film. They thought it was too much, and that it was almost glorifying the white nationalist Nazi side of things a bit too much, which for me wasn't really the case. I didn't think it was, but I'm curious maybe as to what you guys think about that.
Well, it's funny, yeah, because exactly to that, and what you were saying as well, Zalan. I mean, I was watching the first half of this movie and I was getting worried. Yeah, because I was thinking, what's the message here? I don't just want to watch these, these white nationalists, these racists do these awful things without a point, or without some sort of redeeming arc to it. Where are we going exactly? And especially when Edward Norton's giving his whole speech to the big group of people he gathers together before they attack the supermarket, I was like, okay, people like Donald Trump or there are people out there that would probably watch this and be like, oh, I love this movie. I mean, this is, unfortunately these days, this is what presidents sound like. But then in the second half of the movie, it's a complete deconstruction of that. And I think for all the times that we see whether Edward Norton, his brother, or what's his name, Suppley, who Ralph just mentioned, the best friend, doing what they do, you just look at them and you go, you're an idiot. You are an absolute idiot. And I think the point of the movie is for you to really take them as such. The movie points its finger at them and goes, you are such fools at the end of the day. So even when they're doing their most intense, racist, awful, the things they say, their actions against others, as horrible as it is to watch, I don't think the movie's ever on their side. And I think that feels quite obvious. And I was very grateful for that, ultimately.
I think you're totally right. And maybe you guys will disagree with this, but at least for me and my interpretation of the film is that it's not really actually a film about racism. For me, the film is entirely about radicalization, and that's what makes the first part of the film, like you were talking about, where you do see these gangs and Edward Norton's character do all these horrific things, is because it's very much telling us that like radicalization and your how easily influenced you are, and the way you are influenced is very much a product of your environment, right? And it's about his brother's character being surrounded by this constantly, and then it then takes us into Edward Norton in prison, and we see how it takes someone to be completely detached from that environment to actually become, I guess, de-radicalized. And then that's, I guess, that's then emphasized even more when we have Norton come out of prison, and then when he literally says to his brother that he's, this is all wrong, you need to walk away, and his brother pretty much walks away like that, because that's what it's about, like radicalization. And that naivety of young people, and how easily influenced they are by the people they care about and the people they look up to. And
I think you just hit the nail on the head, Luke. I think you hit the nail on the head.
In films, there are, like, how to say it, like, without sounding like this come across a bit wrong, but I think this film asks a lot of like emotional intelligence for the viewers. You need to have some sort of level of education to really grasp the messaging. And what I mean by it is exactly what you said, Chris, that maybe some people watching it in a first act and they actually like it for the wrong reasons, which is a difficult and kind of dangerous territory for a film to go. But in a way, it could be more powerful, because if there are people, right, like, it's not the filmmakers role to make a film and preach to the people that saying, this is, what we're doing is wrong. It's if someone has those beliefs, this film's not going to change. But maybe those who actually maybe watching it sympathizing with this, and they see themselves with those groups somewhat, and then realizing that, oh, hold on a second, hate is not the answer. Maybe they actually could reach out and have more powerful, like impact on those people, rather than us who kind of from the get-go we realize that this is, like this is uncomfortable for us to watch. But it's not gonna change our minds. It just amplifies, like our thoughts, and maybe our way of what's going around us. But maybe if there will be people who watch it and hold on a second, like, yeah, I had a brother who I'm looking after, and and then if he says, it's so I'm hoping that's, I'm just maybe like optimistically I'm looking at, I think that's why maybe this film gets you know like, I think he's, as with time he's gonna get, like a higher status. But I think with filmmakers, when it comes to violence and showing stuff, like, I always go back to my favorite filmmaker, David Lynch. Most of his characters, the men portray, they horrible to women, and they literally, all the men in Lynch films, some of them, they're like horrible characters. But he's considered, like the opposite way, because of actually showing you the reality and the truth of America in somewhat, so can't just be always look at, like Hollywood and the good looking, like male portrayed characters. There are, that's the reality. And I appreciate when filmmakers, they're going for it. And unlike, the, that, Lieutenant actually has a formidable story and point and message that they wanna, for us to come across, really.
Yeah, I was just about to say, in comparison to Bad Lieutenant, yeah, thank God it's not like that, where we're just watching people commit horrible acts and then that's it. There is a turn here, there is a point, there is a message, there is a condemnation of their behavior. um, and some sort of, reach towards a different way, towards salvation at the end. Thank God for that. Hannah, what do you think of all this, about the any perceived imbalances within the film, within the structure of the film, or just within, like, tonally? How do you feel about the whole thing?
One of the element that I think is underdeveloped is the reasons for Derek's views changing. They are very, they're, I don't know how to say this. They feel almost surface level to me. So it took physical sexual violence from a group that he initially identified with but found flaws with to get him to sort of, it kind of expedited his transition away from that group or identifying with white nationalists. Um, and when he and his laundry coworker are like, they never, when they're getting to know each other all throughout that, they don't talk about anything very substantive. I know it's like there's humor used to sort of crack through Derek's character, who really doesn't say anything and just lets his coworker talk and talk and
Mm,
talk. So I like that show of, this person knows that this guy's a skinhead, and is humanizing himself by just existing in that space with Derek. But the one of the lasting things being that they're talking about missing women, and sex with women. Like, I'm not getting a connection with Derek, who's told to us that he's a very intelligent character, that he was very smart. That's why that principal and that professor was like really
mm,
chasing to keep him in line and moving forward, and do some more critical thinking. But the elements in which influence him to turn, I don't think that they are substantive enough to keep him on that path. So if you tell me that the alternative ending was he turned right back into a skinhead. I kind of see the inklings of that built throughout the film in the prison sequences. So he identifies with that group first because they're all skinheads, and he says they're technically like not pure enough. They're collaborating too much with all these other racial groups, which to him is imperfection. So he could absolutely switch again after his brother is killed in school by a black boy, a black student, to then go back. I don't know. If I don't know, I feel like even the trails of what made him racialized, like he's already a teenager when they start talking about race at the dinner table. We get that flashback
Mm.
so far later in the movie too. Like when he's talking about his father's death, I mean, I like how they pace it out. They're like, here's some footage of him, and this is where they thought it was the beginnings of his radicalization, but in Danny's overview, you know that it's not. It was in their family, but I don't know. Or maybe that is the point, at least with like how he grew these racist and extremist views, is that I don't know. That's something that I find as a weaker point in the film.
Think it's a really valid point you make, and when you speak to it, I can see it. I can see that it's a little flimsy, that it's predicated on an incident that, while extremely unpleasant and no one would be happy with it, why would that be the thing that completely forces you off of your your really strong worldview that you've inked all over your body? you know, um,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
still jarring, of course. I guess it's just the development there. Like, yeah.
I think you're
I
right. I
so
think he's certainly there's a. I think he gets there, the character, but as probably, yeah, like that's why I felt as well, like that journey, that he's changing and the worldview changing. It's
yeah,
maybe not presented to us, like, and that the
Mm,
why
yeah,
I mean is that it's such a strong scenes, the dinner table and stuff, like when they
hmm
talk about passionately about the right wing views. The,
yeah,
there's don't I don't see the counterpoints to it pointed out, but it doesn't necessarily mean, like, like it has to be like a debate.
yeah.
Uh,
I guess.
but I need
Oh,
something for, to balance
yeah.
it in a way.
overall, I was afraid that what was going to happen is this troubled character who's been radicalized would only humanize one or two non-white people, the
hmm
professor and his coworker in the laundry room, because I don't see moments where he doesn't speak on all humans are humans. They do not break down that or dissolve the like insane like tribalist view within him and other groups with like who's racialized. We see him befriend one individual in prison, one individual outside, and I'm like, I worry that it feels too much like, well, I have a black friend, how can I be racist? It's
hmm
not enough. I don't have a comfort, like I don't know what book he's reading either. I thought they were going to throw that in a bit where like while he's loner and unknowingly being protected, that they give us another reason why, not just because he's young. Like that's not an I don't know. That's where I was thinking. I was like, I think we need more, or maybe I'm feeling this way because like nowadays I just feel like the discourse of the conversations online, especially rampant on X after Elon's like everyone's allowed to say anything and this is free speech, which is like hate the speech. That it's just sometimes it'll feel like cannons firing on both ends.
yeah.
And when I watch it, I was like, I don't know. I feel like it might be easy for I don't know. I wouldn't want other people to watch it
Well, I think it's
and
it's
feel
the
like
question is whether it's, and this is the interpretation of what the message is, because I I agree with you, but maybe that is, like, it's not the his ideology that is the need to be changed, but for me anyway, it's the fact, and I think he says this line as well. It's more about hatred,
yeah,
having this passionate hatred towards other people is me, made, because he probably experienced it, and it's probably, it should have been, the writing was maybe more like painted out nicely, but I like the where he ends up in terms of his character change, because one of the most beautiful scenes, I think, when they have a heart to heart with the brother, and when he explains, like what happened in the prison, and when they don't really, like when they take down, like the Nazi symbols in the room as well. I think that's where it's like his redemption storyline. It's not necessarily he's never gonna, like, but he realizes, like, and when the professor's asking, like, where this hatred got to you, how did it make your life better, and then he's probably like, well, yeah, like, I've just followed this herd, and I've just tried to live up to the the stereotypes in a way, because that's what I've been, sort of like brought up in the circumstances. And yeah, you start to think like, okay, well, how does it, actually make your life better? And when you dealing with the loss and, the grieving, as well, then I guess that's just, to me anyway, like, that it doesn't matter what ideology you believe in, like, hate is not, because otherwise it would be one ideology try to overcome the other, even though we understand, the right side of history. But I like the fact that in order to get a message, a higher message point across, you need to hear the other side's argument as well, even though it's difficult for us to take and uncomfortable. But that's the way I think you objectively portray, like, a difficult, situation.
Yeah, I think the trouble with it is that they build up Derek from the beginning to be so viciously violent and mean and awful. And Edward Norton is so fucking amazing at playing that. I mean, even in his eyes, the hatred in his eyes is off the charts. To then have him make that turn, it feels like a shortcut is taken. And I think it maybe feels like you can feel it in the movie that there's screenwriting going on here. Very, very briefly, there's writing taking place, and outside of spending way more time in the prison and having the movie be an extra half an hour long to help us gradually get there to where he decided to take a whole different path. I think this is all shortcuts, and I do wonder if there was anything even left on the cutting room floor, that helped with that development to get to that choice.
See, I don't know if I agree with that, because, I mean, as mentioned before, like, the influence that Edward Norton had on the edit is that he had a lot more influence on making, increasing the focus on himself, right? So it would seem odd to me if there was an initial intention to have even more focus in the prison originally. But besides that, like, as well as what you were saying, Hannah, with you think maybe this change was a bit too sudden, and they didn't really take the time to maybe let us as an audience really understand the change that is happening. I get that, and I understand why people will think that, but for me, the rape in the bathroom, that scene, is so significant, and because essentially, especially towards the end of the film, like, it's pretty much spoon-fed to us that these thoughts, they're not Edward Norton's character's thoughts. They're the thoughts of his father. They're the thoughts of George. I think was his name George, like the Nazi leader, something like that.
With a C too.
Cameron.
Was it Cameron?
Cameron.
Oh, maybe Cameron. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Cameron.
Cameron.
Okay. Yeah, they're the thoughts of Cameron that they've instilled on him, and they've just become like this fuel and catalyst for hatred. And the reason they've been able to, manifest the way they have is because Edward Norton's character within this space and within this culture and within these groups, he kind of has this power. He really has this power, and he really has this
And respect.
kind of respect, and I guess this illusion of safety. And I think what that bathroom rape scene represents is actually, well, that was all a delusion. Like, how you can't really represent a complete loss of power and safety any more than the way that they did. And I think that was a really, really important turning point. And I think actually for me, maybe it was enough. Maybe I haven't explained that too well, but
No, I think that's great.
No, absolutely. It's a great point.
Yeah, the removal of safety and power, all the things that he did. Yeah, I had not thought of it.
And that maybe was a turning point that allowed him to reflect on maybe the fact that, like, maybe this is a delusion and a lie that I've been sold and I've been buying into.
And I think it's this gradual realization that he's waiting to be killed, right? After he snubs them in the cafeteria, he doesn't sit with them. And his laundry mate says, "Are you fucking crazy? You know, they're going to come for you now." And he's like, "Well, yeah, well, if that happens, it happens." And then we hear in his narration, I waited and it never came from either group. And by the very end, when he's being released, he's about to walk out of the gates and he goes to his friend now, you know, this black guy he's been working with in laundromat, and says, "The reason nothing happened to me, I have a feeling it's because of you." And this guy says, "Shut up, what are you talking about? You think I care about you?" And he's just like, "Right, okay." So I think even that is going to add to this level of, hang on a minute, out of all of this, a black guy saved me. You know, that's the only reason I'm walking out of here on my two legs. I think maybe reinforces that, and that clearly hasn't been revealed to us, that's been in his head until he's leaving, right? So
also, like, maybe this is a bit of a random way to put it, but obviously he's gone through a significant change in his attitudes and the way he's thinking about things, but, you know, it's not like he's walking out of this prison as some kind of, like, liberal hero who's, like, suddenly embracing everything. You know, just because you're not a Nazi anymore doesn't necessarily mean, like, you're incredibly tolerant and everything. It's just
there's a long way to go.
Yeah, like, there's still a long way to go, and maybe it's not as transparent as maybe we think it is.
Well, I think you're right in a way. He didn't change that. Like, his aggression, because he faced up to Cameron. I mean, he punched him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
right. He's still got that anger there. Yeah.
So in a way, that the film is kind of consistent in a way that he's just, to me, it's like, just he realizes, like, first of all, when you're on the receiving end of violence as well, you kind of second thing, have second thoughts of delivering violence in a different way as well, I guess. And also, it's just like he sees that, like, this doesn't end anywhere, like that is just gonna keep more losses, and in the end, once, I mean, it's a good point you mentioned about he's waiting to die, because we know about people who face death well close to it. Their mentality, like, is human nature. Our mentality changes in a way, how we view the world and people around us. So if you reach that level that you're waiting for death, then after a while, I guess maybe you don't, like, your feel levels or the way you look at the world is a bit different, because it's
right.
Like, what else?
That's a great point.
To lose at this point, So the only thing is like, okay, well, I don't want my brother to end up, in the same situation, because the way his relationship to Cameron, like, the way he looked up, probably realizes, like, okay, well, this was a lie, and then now my brother thinks the same lie because of me, and then so the interaction between the two are my favorite parts of the movie.
And it's not entirely selfless. It is self-preservation at the end of the day, right? It really is. And I love what you're saying, that when death is at your door every day, it changes your mindset, right? That's soldiers at war. That's, cancer patients, hospital wards are full of them, people who have to battle with this every day, and that just completely will rewire your whole way of looking at the world. When I say as well that I do feel the writing in this film, it applies as well to when the very ending, when his brother gets shot in the bathroom. I was like, it's a bit dramatic. I was like, what did this kid actually do? They stared him down. He got in his face. Okay.
I wonder, how the professor, is he still a professor or teacher, or I keep thinking he's the principal.
Yeah.
If they already know, I think everybody must know that, like, oh, his older brother is a skinhead. So they're already associating him with that as well and imagining him on that path.
Yeah, I think if there was a definite link to the guys that he killed, trying to rob his house, or the guy he curb stomped, to these kids, that's their family, that was their relative, then I get this immediate...
Isn't there, maybe?
Is there?
No,
in the scene where they arrive by the house after he's been released, there's two of them in the car, right? There's a young guy who shoots his brother, and then there's another guy who I think was a gang member we've seen before. I might be making that up, but
okay.
That's what I thought.
Worth digging.
Yeah.
For me, like, I think Derek committed crime against, that group 100%. So, but yeah, he might be. But that's the thing when it comes to violence and extremities, like, it's maybe a reasonable point to take risks for us, but people who commit these crimes, they sometimes, like I don't want to, like, bring up, local stuff, but I heard in the news a few months ago, like, someone got stabbed, a 14-year-old, at Oxford Circus, for over a McDonald's meal. You know what I mean? Like, so you thinking, like, you got stabbed over a burger. You know what I mean? Like, so in impulse and stuff. I guess it felt more, pre-planned murder rather than just
the
moment.
Yeah, and I guess it really wasn't clear that this group was part of the group that Derek fucked with in the first place. At least it wasn't to me, which is why it felt, the ending, the murder of his brother, felt more symbolic. This is the point here, as opposed to something where I was like, "Ooh, yeah, that was always coming." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah, the symbol of the cycle of violence.
The cycle, yeah. And honestly, hearing about that alternate ending now with him shaving his head, now I don't know what to feel. Maybe I am glad that we've got the ending we have, because I think I would be so deflated
100%.
to see him shaving his head again.
Like we're talking about, and I'm with you 100% on this one, that people sometimes the actors or superstars, they get the bad reputation, they want more lines, they want want to bulk up their performance. But I think, especially knowing Edward Norton's, like, filmography and his commitment to art, it wasn't about himself. It was more about the character, that he wanted to balance the fact. Because otherwise, if we're talking about taking out the elements of him changing, then the balance is you got more right-wing ideology in the film rather than like a leader point towards the end. And if we turn back to it, his whole redemption story then falls flat, because if you go back to the same vicious circle, then what is your message? Then I don't want the message to be that we end up.
I was going to say, like, if they did go with that ending, I can really imagine that not going down well at all, at least with like general audiences.
Yeah. But I've heard, horror stories about Edward Norton and his behavior on sets, and I still don't agree with you trying to take over
but I mean, just to add you a point, like, what happened was that the filming was done, but the director done nothing for like 6 to 8 months, and then so he was kind of, he had this revelation of, like, Buddhism came to him, and he wanted to rethink the whole story and the message of the movie, and then so he had to come in, and they had like he said Edward Norton was terrible in the film, which we all agree that's not true. So, like, there was some beef between them, but I think it's more about he wanted the story to be portrayed and the messaging to be the right one. And it's not just him. Let's not just say that Edward Norton on his own took over. There's a big studio backing behind it as well, and
interesting.
And it's two. I think it's one of those two hotheads in a set, because the director had, when you look up, he was a commercial director and he did a lot of other troubles as well. So he's
okay.
Sadly, because of his shenanigans, he came across as like a difficult person to work with. But when you look at his filmography, like, he's done some interesting documentaries, so he's a talented filmmaker. He had issues on set and violence with commercials as well. So it's just one of those. These two big egos probably clash, but I like this version of it 100%. I think.
Yeah, let's we'll do cast and crew, but let's not jump into producers or anyone that we don't really, because we've spoken a bit about the film as it is. But let's see. So the composer's former guest of the show, Anne Dudley. Very cool. Oscar winner for The Full Monty, which I haven't seen actually. Any good? And yeah, what did you guys?
It's a great.
What did you guys?
Great score.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it's quite unusual for a film like this.
Are you talking about American History X?
Yeah, American History X.
Yeah.
I think it's quite kind of bold choice as well,
Yeah.
But having I think the idea of like the children cars and like boys car, and it's something that the pure innocence being kind of violated by this ideology. I think it's what I've gathered, quite loud as well at some point. It's not subtle scores that just goes in the background.
That's right.
I think the score at the start and the very end, because it's bookshelved by this kind of imagery and this beautiful music in the background, which is quite interesting, sat next to the film that it is. But for me, in those moments, the score is particularly pretty.
Yeah, it's very what you were saying, Zen. It's very loud. It's quite big. At times, I thought that it's almost mockingly big. Like, for instance, the basketball scene where they're like, right, I'm going to play you, blacks against whites. Whoever wins, this other racial group can never come back to this court. Okay. So they start playing this game and you're watching him and you're thinking, you are all a bunch of stupid fucking men, aren't you? What is this? What are you doing? And the music, though, is like the most heroic, sweeping, soldiers at war.
But of course it is, because this everything's told from the perspective of his younger brother, right? We learn everything about Edward Norton's experience the way that his younger brother does. So, like, it doesn't really surprise me that that's what they went for, maybe.
Oh, that's so true. I didn't think about that. I was thinking of it more as this is Anne Dudley, like, mocking how grand and epic and heroic this actually is.
I mean, I agree. It does feel a bit like that. Like, it definitely feels like a bit too much. But actually, I was kind of like.
But you're right. Yeah, if you think about it from the brother's point of view, this is everything. Yeah, and his brother is a hero. Yeah, that's so true.
Also, just on the hero thing, Chris, for that scene that you brought up, I was thinking too, I was like, why would they make that decision for the grandiosity, how big it is? I was like, maybe that's also just like when you're a normal civilian fighting for like the territory of a basketball court in Venice Beach, that is like your local battle. That's your little civil battle in the 90s. Like that's right. And then you get the big historic, we're not, sorry, that was going to be you trying to fill up one of those old pistol shotguns, but it probably looked rude. No, like you're not, it's not that kind of moment. It's weird too, to mix something visually modern with maybe a soundtrack that evokes something grand and older. I'm so glad you guys are bringing that up. Or just the music in general. Yeah.
It's a good scene. The only issue I have is, this is just ridiculous nitpicking on my part, so I shouldn't even bring up. But when you look up that lineup, there's no way that they should be winning.
I saw some stuff on Reddit about that.
Come on, like can't tell me, but it's I take that away, like it's just seeing it the way that you look at the way that like interesting that the way they edit it as well. That's actually quite a good one. Sort of like mixtures of like sharp editing and it's the tension and the way it's just a lot of a lot of good filmmaking in this film.
There really is. And yeah, it's definitely a moment where I really noticed Dudley's score. She's been around forever. I mean, she was scoring films in the 80s. She did The Mighty Quinn with Denzel. She did Say Anything, which is, must go down as one of the most classic, rom-coms of all time. The Crying Game, which do you remember, Hannah, do you watch that with me and Luke in the last film club?
I did not, but I didn't know the correlation there. Wow.
Yeah, which was just fucking wild, man. That movie is something.
I didn't
Forrest
actually
Whitaker,
see it. I missed that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It is. I love Forrest Whitaker, but him trying to do like a Cockney, North London accent is priceless.
Americans usually fail on
yeah.
accents.
Yeah. But A Man Apart, the Vin Diesel action movie, and most recently she did. I'm pretty sure she did. So she's been nominated for BAFTAs for Poldark. Very huge TV series over here. She scored Paul Verhoeven's movie Benedetta in 2021, and yeah, it says she's got a credit for Eminem Houdini. I don't know what did she compose that Houdini track
It
for
might be a
Eminem
sample, maybe
or a sample?
Used one of her.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, just very interesting filmmaker, and it was it was a pleasure to talk to her on the podcast. Cast: Edward Norton nominated for an Oscar for this movie. I think we can all agree he's exceptional, right?
Yeah,
He
amazing.
Looks so good too.
Great actor. And the variety of the roles he's doing, like he could play the menacing, and you know what? It's the thing is you guys are saying about that stomping as well, but also when I first watched, when he turns, that is the most evil-looking person, really.
Yes,
that's the image I see the most.
I know
Yeah.
that is really because that's
Yeah.
a poster, right? That's the poster somewhat as well. So it's like it's yeah, and then his Primal Fear, he's played these characters, play charming roles as well, like being in a Wes Anderson film,
yeah, exactly, yeah. He's got range, and he's absolutely one of the greats. He really is. He's absolutely fantastic, and he's fucking fantastic in this movie. His brother Edward Furlong. Only when I saw him, I was like, Terminator 2! I had no idea. He's the kid in Terminator 2. And I was like, God, I had thought he was never in anything else again. But Terminator 2 was obviously 91. This was 98. So it was nice to see him show up again. He looks exactly the same age. But it works. And
I didn't even realize
great.
that. I've only just realized.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So huge for him. I thought the mum, played by Beverly D'Angelo, Doris, was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic in the movie. She just gives a grounded, solid, real performance,
All I could think about when I saw her on screen, though, was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation that I watched the other day.
I've just seen that she's in like 3 National Lampoon movies. I haven't seen them, so thank God. Did it ruin it for you?
It was just a bit odd to see,
Okay. Yeah, I've heard her name, but I hadn't really seen her too much, and I think she looks great on camera. She's striking, and I think she's quite wonderful in this. Ethan Suplee, as Ralph mentioned, he's a character actor who's been around for ages. He mostly plays the good guy. Yeah, just a really, like, he's got this
Such a
warm,
recognizable face.
really warm, bubbly. And in this movie, he is the worst person. You know, one of the things that really offended me, it wasn't even like all of his other actions or saying the N-word. It was sitting down in someone else's house, grabbing like a bunch of jelly babies, stuffing it into his mouth, and then spitting them out onto the floor. I was like, that offended me so deeply. What are you?
Did you say jelly babies? Is that what they're called over there?
Yeah, jelly babies.
Or jelly
Shut
beans,
up.
sorry. We have jelly babies and jelly beans.
Okay, no, never heard jelly babies before, and I will be using that.
Hannah, jelly babies are what I have in my car, always in the console, just to chew on.
I have so many questions.
When you come to the UK, we'll introduce you to some jelly babies.
I'm just glad there will be nourishment.
Yeah. So you have Fayruza Balk, who plays Derek's girlfriend in the movie. Carrie Ann recognized her immediately. She was like, oh, she's in Almost Famous and The Craft, and she was in quite a few 90s movies. The guy who plays the teacher, Sweeney, Avery Brooks, I honestly had never really heard of him before. He was in Star Trek.
Best to me is Deep Space Nine. I think he's the best captain.
Deep Space Nine. I never saw it, Zalan, but
yeah, he's terrific.
I have to say, I'm not surprised, because his performance in this movie alone was like, wow. You know, I hung on every word. I mean, if he's going to show up and play the influential teacher, they couldn't have picked anyone better, because he has a gravitas to him. He has, you know what I mean? He holds...
Because Derek listens to him, you know. He doesn't want to, because of this ideology, but then he realizes, hold on a second, because there's this scene when he's actually talking about him in a positive manner, and then his father is literally like, no, you can't think like that. So there's a nuances about, you know, his character, why he's like that. But, you know, when he says to him, like, you know, like, you have to do this when he's coming out from the prison, then, you know, he listens to him. So that's, yeah, he delivered, doesn't have many lines, but he delivered those perfectly.
I'll say too, just off of the cast, it was a nice misdirect at the end of the film when they approach Edward Norton and like, right, you need to go back to your old crew and try and get some info. And he's like, you're going to get me killed. And he laughs about it. He's like, cool, you're going to get me killed. That's going to be the biggest joke. I'm going to get shot by the white supremacists. And you're like, ooh, here we go. And then, whoop, you know, nope. We are going... Yeah, that was a nice misdirect. Elliot Gould is in this movie. Legendary 70s actor. Most people nowadays would probably know him as Ross and Monica's dad.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
The jazz clicked. Well, you told me, so it didn't click.
Honestly, I haven't seen a lot of what is praised about Elliot Gould. There are some 70s films which apparently are just, you know, masterpieces, and he's incredible in them. I've heard a lot about his early career, and I'd love to dive back into that. Maybe we can do that on here at some point. Is he playing a teacher in this? I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, he is. He's a teacher who had dated their mum in the past. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Cool. Yeah, he lovely. Yeah, you know, he's not asked to do much, but he's really grounded and really believable. It's lovely. And the only other, like, there's two other really recognizable people. It's Stacey Keach, who plays Cameron. I mean, he's still showing up today. He shows up as George Clooney's dad in Jay Kelly, you know, that new movie. And it's not... Yeah, he's around, you know, he's that guy. And he's great. I totally buy him as the head of this whole clan, you know. And the friend Lamont that he does laundry with in the prison, his name's Guy Torrey. He's recognizable too. He's been around, always playing that small character actor. He was in Pearl Harbor. He was in a movie called Don't Say a Word with Michael Douglas and Runaway Jury. And he always shows up in those small roles. I thought he was fantastic. Apparently, he had an early career as a stand-up comedian. And you can tell, right, when he does that whole bit with the sheet and the
definitely.
KKK,
Yeah.
it was really well done, you know.
Yes.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was improv, you know, and they were like, "Oh, do that again. We need to get that." But yeah, really, really good. Just a really, really great cast. I think we can all agree.
So did Edward Norton win? Wait, he was nominated for an Oscar, but he didn't win.
Nominated, but he didn't win. Luke, can you do me a favor and look up who did?
Okay.
Was it 98?
98, yeah. So maybe the 99 Oscars, yeah. Knowing your encyclopedic knowledge on Oscars, Zalan, you probably know, know this off the top of your head.
Well, 90, because the problem is with the Oscars, it's the year.
The year.
So it's 90
after, yeah.
99 Oscars. So is this the one with Shakespeare in Love and Saving Private Ryan, maybe?
Was it?
Biggest injustice ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was not winning then.
The winner was Roberto
Benigni.
for Life is Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Hannah's like, yeah.
Bummer.
And the
Bummer he won. That's the one where he steps on the chairs to go accept the Oscar.
Is it?
It's.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
This Chris.
Is Benigni the guy from that Jim Jarmusch movie that we watched, Life on Earth, in those little segments?
Earth,
yeah.
Night on Earth. Yeah, the taxi driver, or
the taxi driver. Yeah.
Mm.
Guys, I've never seen Life is Beautiful. Is it good?
I have not either.
You should. I saw it and due for a rewatch. I watched it back in college.
I would love to, yeah, because Roberto Benigni is someone I'd like to see a bit more of. Cool. Okay. So the screenwriter of this film is David McKenna. This is his first film. Wow. Okay. He's coming out strong. He did the remake of Get Carter with Sylvester Stallone. He did Blow, which I haven't seen in a long time, with Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz. I remember really liking it when I saw it. He did the movie SWAT with Colin Farrell and Samuel L. Jackson, LL Cool J, and really wasn't good from what I remember. And the last thing he did was a movie called Embattled from 2020, which I've never heard of at all. And there's not really any names in it, actually, apart from Stephen Dorff and Donald Faison.
I'm very curious as to like what this script looked like before things are like cut in and out and jiggled around and messed with.
Even in terms of like structure, was it linear? Did we have the flashbacks? Was that an editing choice? Yeah. And the black and white, was that even written in the script? Sometimes it is, right? So I agree with you, Luke. I'm really curious as to what the initial script looked like. And then we get to Tony Kaye, the director, and Zalan, I don't know if you know this, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was his first film, right? He'd done a documentary, but this was his first narrative feature film, which, wow, I mean, he came out the gate swinging. I think it looks gorgeous at times. He does this thing with black and white, with slow motion every now and then that is extreme close-ups, slow motion, and it's gorgeous. It really adds to this sense of, it builds an atmosphere, right? I'm thinking of when Derek is giving his speech to the big group of neo-Nazis he's gathered together, and as he's speaking to them, you see this slow motion close-ups of them donning their masks and before they head off to do this attack. I thought that was so effective. I thought directing was great.
Cinematography as well, right?
He did yes, Zalan, you're right. Thank you. He did the cinematography as well. Yeah, it was all him.
Very talented. I mean, there's only one other thing I saw from him was there's a documentary, Lake of Fire, which I recommend. It's kind of going through the history of abortion in America and their like relationship to it and the past few decades of it. So it's again a strong film of him. But yeah, because of his antics with this film, he was kind of like blacklisted.
Yeah, like I
Ah.
respect the integrity of like pushing back if he's not happy with the final product, but at the same time, it seems like he kind of shot himself in the foot in terms of his career.
Yeah, because I look at the rest of his body of work and I'm like,
Commercial.
what is that? I've
Just
never heard of it.
he's only done
And
commercials, yeah.
yeah, and it's like American History X is his most well-known movie, and that's shocking because, like we've been saying, I think it's such a good film. The last film he did was The Trainer in 2024. Never heard of it, but it's a movie that has some names in it. He's working with Beverly D'Angelo again. He's got Stephen Dorff in it. He's got Lenny Kravitz in the movie, but you haven't heard of it, and it's just, yeah, I mean, blacklisted, bloody hell. You know what's interesting? There's a movie that's listed in development on his IMDb. It's called African History Y. Let's see if that ever gets made. I don't know what that is. But one thing I find really interesting is that the movie is direct. Tony Kaye is British. I think that's fascinating. That this movie, American History X, it's called, is made by an English filmmaker with an
Oh.
English composer as well. I think that's fascinating. You hear about that saying about the people who can make the best movies about America are non-Americans, right? The people who can deconstruct, or create the perfect American myth, encapsulate what America is by non-Americans. And so I think that's such a wild, interesting choice to have this film made by him.
The
Yeah.
writer's American, though, right? And it's
Right as
you
American.
touched on this earlier, but I guess wasn't this like loosely based on a true story or like
Yeah,
someone's actual experience?
Yeah, he was. He's in 70s. He's based on he was part of skinhead gangs in the 70s, associated with punk music,
Mm.
and it's which is interesting because even like musically, there's so much like punk and reggae, just so much history, and then it's one of my heartbreaks of like that when it comes to like music and stuff, that kind of like punk music or certain type of music was like certain groups took over it, and then it is
Mm.
their names attached to that kind of groups, which is
Mm-hmm.
that's why you hear about a lot of musicians. It's like say, Tom, please don't use my song.
Yeah.
Like all these like
Mm-hmm.
ice like promo videos and things like that. So it's yeah, he's basic. He had experience of being in a gang, of being sort of like his life going sideways because of like the decisions he's made, partially being in these groups. So that's why those scenes I think very well made and realistic, and
Mm.
Yeah.
hits home because and it's maybe too realistic in a way that when you as a once you consume this product, that it's like, oh damn, this is especially like the supermarket scene is just it's hard to watch.
Really hard to watch. Really, really hard to watch. Yeah. It's the curb stomp, it's the rape in the shower, and it's that supermarket assault where you're just like, oof, I can't watch any more of this. Yeah. Um, I will say as well, some of my final thoughts here, that what you were saying, Luke, earlier about the movies about indoctrination, it makes so much sense to me about how you can easily get caught up in others' points of view, especially if they are people you love, especially if, like you said, your environment, friends, family. I think about my own brothers. Hi, Steph. He's going to edit this, so
That's it.
I'm talking about you now. But it's like I look at the influence I have on my younger brothers, and I grew up massively in love with movies and movie scores. Now, my younger brother Stefan is training to be a movie composer. My favorite TV show of all time is Lost. Ask Stefan what his favorite TV show of all time is. It's Lost. My favorite movie composer is Michael Giacchino, who is Stefan's favorite movie composer. An artist and producer I listened to all the time was Timbaland. who do my brothers love as a music producer? And my favorite football club is Manchester United. I've supported them since I was a child. Who do my brothers support? It's Manchester United. We watch games together. So when you think about it, how that gets trickled down, into your immediate environment, the people around you, it's crazy. And so it rings a bell. It makes so much sense to me. Thank God I wasn't born, an absolute racist and awful person. I mean, people might think I am. I don't know. I'm speaking for myself here, but I think I'm not. It's nice to think that. Yeah, but how easy, it's scary how easy it is
But
for people to get
why
influenced.
the film is so important, because it's so easy to be ignorant and not understand how people get into believing the things that they do and doing the things that they do, and that's what the film is shining light on, I guess.
I do regret that during this conversation, we didn't delve much at all into the importance of father figures in the film, because we see the mother say at one point, he was just a kid without a father. And we get all these big mentors that he follows around, and how influential that role can be for other men or for the structure of the family.
Yeah.
Because even without the father, yeah, it's very fascinating. But I'm glad you brought that up about male influence in family.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know. So was that his dad, the fireman, who got killed, or was that a stepfather?
That was
That
his
was his
dad.
dad.
That was his dad, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I love that scene. Such a fascinating scene because the hateful rhetoric that just so casually comes out in that scene, and I think the most fascinating part of it is that no one else around the table speaks up against it. I was like, oh, not even the mum is saying, excuse me, we don't have that kind of talk. No, that conversation flows from beginning to end and everyone else is silent. And I was like, oh, okay, you talk about enabling that, whether you want to or not, right there. Yeah. Yeah. Um, cool. So I guess that's it, really. Does anyone have any final thoughts on this? I'll go around the table. Hannah, any final thoughts on American History X?
No, just that final comment that I had. Oh, yes, I do. Even for I think I sort of just talked more about elements that I thought perhaps could have been strengthened, or maybe just in the edit, as we had discussed over the conversation, the call, that
Mm-hmm.
were made. I understand why they made the edits or the rewrites or whatever it was, the edits that they made. This movie is important and it is powerful for so many reasons. So even with my nitpicking here and there, I'm glad that it exists. Um, as I feel like it's people should see this and will sort of witness it. And even a small thought was the idea that somebody who'd committed such heinous crimes later on does have not just a redemption arc, and he's not cleansed of everything and doesn't become like an angel or anything. He's still a person who's trying to also take care of his family and keep it quite personal. And I think the
Mm.
word selfish had been said earlier, but in a way where it's like self-preservation, that allowing people to go through the journey of change is important, because if you don't accept them in the end, it could turn them right back. So I think understanding that is, I guess, is my small comment on
Mm.
the effects of when cancel culture is ineffectual, or perhaps where we need to step outside of something that's like a trend or something, but just really grapple with people on a human to human level,
Mm-hmm.
and allow for transformations, especially positive transformations. We would want to allow that to happen and not shun people who have
Yeah.
changed their view. So powerful film, artistic choices that I really did enjoy throughout, the black and white slipping to personal. yeah, a great example of things, and the dynamic in the family is I'm glad I finally saw it, and I'm glad to have had the opportunity to speak with it about it in this group.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you for saying that, and I'm so glad you chose it. I didn't think I'd have the reaction I did when you chose it. I didn't know what to expect, but I came out of it so happy I'd seen it. Who's joining us, by the way? So remind me, what's your cat's name there?
Oh, this is Mingao, the one-eyed cat. His brother is up somewhere else. He was throwing dishes off the counter, which is why I moved earlier.
Tell Mingao welcome anytime, just like Ralph, honestly.
He's just making biscuits over here.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even notice.
Excellent. So I might as well start with you then. What would you give this movie, Hannah?
Yeah, I was gonna give it a 3.5 just for some elements that I don't know if I should give it higher or not. I feel like a 4. I
4?
think because yeah, I'm gonna stay there. There were some elements throughout this conversation that I came to appreciate a bit more as well,
Oh, good,
including the use
good.
of music. So, yeah,
Excellent. Okay, I'll note it
I
down.
think I'll keep it there.
4 for you. Luke, final thoughts on the movie and your rating.
I think maybe something we didn't talk about is how the film's kind of, in a way, framed around this essay that the brother has to write, and how the content of that essay changes literally throughout one night, and as we see him writing and rewriting, etc. And then something that's really powerful at the end that I love is how it lingers on the shot of the paper on the floor in the bathroom before it's handed in, just really like pushing like the idea again of like the cycle of violence, and how despite this positive change that's happened, like because of the violence, it's never really like come into fruition and basically wasted.
Yeah, I actually was expecting an immediate close-up of the words American History X, by so-and-so with blood splattered on the page. I honestly thought we were going to get an insert shot of that. In a way, I'm glad we didn't. We know it, but yeah. Very, really powerful. What's your rating?
This is actually a 5-star film for me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I love it. And
5-star movie, yeah.
I'm very happy.
And I think I appreciate it even more after this rewatch, so I'm glad you picked it, Hannah.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Oh, I'm so pleased. Oh my God, I wouldn't have guessed it. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'd like to think I know what your 5s are. I wouldn't have guessed it.
He's unpredictable.
Unpredictable, man.
Also, I kind of predicted this would happen, but I really enjoyed how thoughtful this conversation has been, and it's provoked a lot of different thinking. Yeah,
thank you, Luke. Yeah, exactly. I think our mood, depending on the subject that we're talking about, and that whatever this movie's about, it's dependent on the film, right? And I think it's quite thoughtful and focused, rightfully so. Yeah, with the content that we're discussing. So yeah, I agree, totally agree. Zalan, any final thoughts and your rating?
It seems like we're getting good ratings here. No, I think it's one of those films that I would say for the listeners who maybe have seen this film and they might have like mixed feelings about it, do watch it again, because it gets better with second viewings. And even though I would enjoy is not the right word, but I really appreciate this film despite all these troubles, of the shooting and the production in the end. But yeah, it's an important film, and I even though I have issues with the first act and the messaging, it still comes beautifully in the end. And yeah, I'll give a 4.20, 4.25.
I love it. I love
Very
it.
precise.
Yes, I love Zalen's ratings. I should have shown you. I got ready with the point. I didn't know what was coming before or after, but I got ready with the decimal
Because
point.
if you look at it as 100, if you object it to 100, if you say 85, then maybe 85 out of 100, that's valid, but then you have to bring it down. That's
Way down. Yeah.
4.275 or something.
Yeah. No, excellent, excellent. I think that's it's very highly rated. It's very highly rated. And you know, listen, I mention my girlfriend a lot, Carrie Ann, on this thing, but it's only because I watch a lot of movies with her. And you know, she saw some of this. She didn't hang around for a lot of it. And I think her final declaration was she stood up and she went, "I don't like this movie," and she left the room. And
I love
I
Carrie Ann.
finished it. Yeah.
I need to meet her.
Honestly, I think you will get on very well. But I think, but so when I saw her afterwards, she was lying in bed. She was like, "How was the movie?" I was like, "It was good. It was very good." And I think it's easy to make an immediate assumption on the movie based on what you're hearing and what you're seeing, because it's very ugly. But I'm so glad that I could walk away from this and say, actually, there's a real movie here. There's a real story. It's so well made and well told. And for that reason, I would give it a 4 as well. I think Norton steals the show. The filmmaking's great. Another crazy thing that you realize, oh, this is 1998, is all the talk of Rodney King. All the talk of Rodney King and everything. It's like, how relevant, how recent was that when this movie came out? I don't even know. Actually, I made it a point to look it up, and I didn't. So Rodney King was 1991. Yeah, so it's still the 90s when he was beaten on camera. So it makes sense that it's a God. Can you imagine what the conversations they would be having if this was a movie that came out in 2025? Jesus Christ! Fucking hell.
Bullshit. I know what time would say that.
Yes.
That's scary. That's startling. I will say, I mean, just the reminder that was a few months ago. I don't know the timeline anymore. They're like, the neo-Nazi group chat, they're just boys being boys. I was like, yeah, guys. Unfortunately, that's why it's so relevant.
Yeah, nothing is very surprising anymore in what we hear about in the news, which is it's very sad. But again, like we all said, it's why movies like this remain powerful and relevant and prescient in a way that I don't even think they probably even realized.
And more so the fact that we meet as a community to discuss them, because experiencing something just individually, I mean, this experience enriches all of the viewings that I've had with you guys. And if it's not something I watch with you, I'll share with somebody else to continue that, to actually have a dialogue. I think that's the most important.
I think that's perfect, what you just said. Yeah, because I feel what I feel when I end the movie, but I'd never be able to maybe fully understand it until I talk about it with you. So yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
And sometimes you get to be discussing point of views when you start to think about, and you maybe our attitudes changes. Chris, you said a few times that based on our conversations, you maybe went up with the film or maybe other way around. So that it's important. That's art is. We just maybe we watch that film and we have a different lens based on our conversations. So and hopefully it's the same for the listeners as well.
I hope so. It's so rewarding, it's so enriching, and I'm so grateful for all of you. I really am, that I get to do this with you and that you show up. Well, as I talking to I can talk to myself, sure, but it gets boring. Zalan, you have the next pick, sir. So what will it be?
I wanted to pick something nice and like warmth, heartwarming, and that's a beautiful film. So I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but I picked a film, an Italian movie from 1994. It's called The Postman, Il Postino.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Shit. Have you seen it, Luke?
Oh no, I haven't actually. No, I haven't.
I've heard all about it, Zalan. Yeah. I've never seen it.
So it's just a video like that. It's explores the themes of love and friendship through the beautifully acted in the 1950s of Italy, about poetry and Pablo Neruda. And
oh my God! It's got Philippe Noiret in it. Luke from the Old Gun.
Exactly. heavily the
Oh yeah, okay.
Easter egg for our previous like
Yes.
Wow, I'm
Oh, that's
very
amazing.
excited.
I'm so excited. I'm so
it should be
excited.
on
Thank
Amazon
you.
and Disney Plus as well, I think, if you have that. But yeah, it's
I'm
a cozy,
thrilled.
it's a cozy
So am I.
watch.
Perfect. So then, all right. So excellent. Thank you, Zalan. That will be our next pick. All right. So let's gear up for that. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope to see you on the next one. I can't wait to talk movies with you again. Until then, this is the Phoenix Cinema Podcast Film Club. We hope you enjoyed listening. Happy watching. The next movie will be Il Postino, also known as The Postman, from 1994. Watch along with us, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.